Good morning, everybody. Welcome in to the closing line. It's Saturday, February 3rd, 2018. We're talking college hoops today here as we do every Saturday. Me, the big man on campus, here with my co-host, Ian Cameron at Babano on Twitter. Ian Cameron, a really big card today. A lot of games. We'll try to break through as many as we can. We'll try to bang through them all. How you doing this morning?
Doing great, big man. Just another Saturday. Lots of games to talk about. We got 1 hour to do it, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut and let's get to it.
Yeah, welcome into all the listeners out there. Hopefully you enjoy the show. We'll try to get to as many questions as we can. This show, obviously, we want to give you a nice breakdown, but, again, we can only do so many games in, about 57, 58 minutes here. So we'll try to do it and see how many we can get through. Last night, not a ton going on. I had a play. I lost, just missed it. I had over in the VCU game. Came up just short. Looked good at halftime, but what are you going to do? Let's get into the weekend here and talk a little basketball. First game, Ian, we got, I don't know, what do we have, 7 or so, 12 o'clock games. A couple that are intriguing here. Obviously, I think Duke, you got to look at this spot for Duke and ask yourselves, why are they interested much in this game? A non-league game in the middle of the season. You got UNC on deck, I believe. You're laying 11 points. St. John's isn't a great basketball team. They've struggled. They're getting better under Chris Mullen. They have a guy named Shamori Pons who is really good. They have a decent defense. How do you look at a game like this, Ian, in the middle of the season on the road in MSG against a non-league team? I know a couple years ago, I think of last year, they lost or there was a close game against the Red Storm. Any opinion on this game at noon?
I have a bunch of opinions at noon. This isn't one of them, actually. I mean, St. John's, to me, it's a leap of faith back in this basketball team. They've just had a really dismal run of it in Big East play. Now, obviously, they're stepping out of league play here, but to me, it's a very, very tough time for me envisioning St. John's being competitive in this game. But the problem is for Duke, you got big games in the ACC coming up. You got North Carolina on deck. You've got a lot of big games on your schedule upcoming. So is the focus going to be there for Coach K? But if it is, they could blow the roof off. They could blow the St. John's team right off the floor here, in my opinion. So it's definitely a game I'll be passing on, but interesting to see how Duke comes out for this one.
Yeah, I'm not. These are just two teams I'm not running to win at a bet on, especially with a look-ahead game for the Blue Devils. But yeah, I mean, talent here should be able to rise up and get past the Red Storm. But the question is, how much do they care about covering here? I mean, you're going to win by double digits. It's a non-league game. Why do I feel like I see an 82-72 kind of win here? I don't know. Duke's defense not particularly good either. Everyone liked the show. Very important. Hit the like button. A lot of people in here already. Make sure you like it. Also, my plays of the day. I'm not sure that I'm going to have any here this morning. I'll go over many games, but I like to sit here and kind of, I'll put them out on Twitter. I'll make sure we have stuff. It's sporadic throughout the day. I'm not one of these guys that puts out all his picks at one point. It's 11:06 in the morning. We need to make sure, we'll get through all the games, but, we'll be sporadic. Ian, UCF Houston, interesting game here, 5:10 at 5:30. Get Houston on the road at UCF. UCF obviously dealing without Taco Fall, and I've talked about the problems you're going to have when you don't have Taco Fall in the lineup, particularly on the defensive end. He really helps with, really everything on the block. I mean, he limits the penetration into the lane. There's not a lot of that just because he's impossible to shoot the ball over. He's a great rebounder, really clears everything out. But in this spot, I have a hard time taking UCF. I know it's a home game. I know it's, a big game for this team. But without Taco Fall against a good basketball team, I got to kind of lean towards Houston here. I think they win. I think they cover. I think they win by 5 to 7 points here. I like Rob Gray a lot. I like this Houston team. And look, the only concern I have is they haven't been particularly good on the road to the number. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting game to break down. Donnie Rightside in the chat, by the way. I noticed that. Good morning, Donnie. 9 a.m. in Costa Rica, joining us for the show. Good stuff. I like the over in this game, UCF and Houston. What I love in college basketball, this time of year, early February, I like these teams that from a side perspective, They were ATS disaster areas early in the season, and then they all of a sudden start to cover some point spreads late January into February, and you've got value to back these teams, and they start covering almost game in and game out. There's a bunch of teams like that. I also like that from a totals perspective. UCF, an under machine for the longest time. Obviously, we know they're a very good defensive team. They have been under Johnny Dawkins, but a large part of that defense was, as you mentioned, the 7'6" behemoth and Taco Fall, who's, of course, injured now. And it's really hampered Central Florida a bit defensively. And it's no coincidence in my mind that since Fall got injured, Central Florida's gone over the total now, 3 or 4 straight games now in a row. And because their full season stats and numbers indicate they should be lined in the 120s with their totals. But it's proving now to be a little bit too low. We saw it the last game against UConn. Okay, you needed some fouls to get there, but it still went over the total. I would look at this game over the total. I have 130.5, and people are agreeing with me. This total's shooting up as I go on about this. It's up to 132, 133. So people are seeing what I'm seeing. UCF changing their stripes, changing their spots a little bit. Also an offensively better team with BJ Taylor back. Let's not forget that about Central Florida as well. So I think they're going to score. I don't trust Houston's defense on the road. We know Rob Gray and a great backcourt here, leading a great backcourt for this Houston Cougars team. I think they're going to be able to score points as well. So I like the over 130.5, and clearly people are agreeing as this number's shooting up as we speak.
Brady Mosher, Houston is the bet of the year. Settle down, Brady. It's not the bet of the year. I could see maybe taking a shot with it, but I wouldn't say it's the bet of the year. Houston has struggled on the road. Barry Zeus says he likes Belmont. All right, we'll get to that one. Donnie continuing to complain about his ability to watch the Super Bowl on a beach. Donnie, get some alcohol in Donnie, all right?
Yeah, exactly. There could be worse things than watching the Super Bowl in Yako Beach and brilliant weather, great temperatures. You think I wouldn't take those temperatures right now, Donnie? Think again. Come on.
I'll be in South Philadelphia, a block away from Broad Street. You think I'm not nervous either? We're going nuts down here. At least you're on a beach. Ian, you said you like some games at 12 o'clock. What are you looking at?
We're going to go Oklahoma State plus the points against Kansas. I know it's tough. Kansas seems to be rounding into form slowly but surely. There's no question about that. But you also can't deny Oklahoma State from a point spread perspective on the road. They've been pretty damn good lately. I mean, this has been a very good road team against the spread, especially in Big 12 play. No question about that. I know Kansas, their last home game, impressive blowout win and cover against Texas A&M. But again, that was out of league play. That was that SEC Big 12 challenge that they had last weekend. You go back down and look in Big 12 play on their home floor. Kansas hasn't been good laying big numbers at home in Big 12 play. Actually, it's been a disaster for them for the most part. They haven't covered many as of late. And Oklahoma State competing, I think they're starting to play a little bit better. Their offense is starting to come around a little bit. Defensively, they've done a little bit better job on that end of the basketball court as well. It's been obviously it's taken Mike Boynton, the new head coach of this Oklahoma State team, time to get this team gelling and playing better. Of course, Brad Underwood bolted from Okie State to Illinois, where he is now. So Oklahoma State's sort of gone through a little bit of a transition and early season struggles, but they're starting to put it together, more competitive effort, starting to cover some numbers. And to me, it just feels like this could be a little bit of a downer spot for Kansas. And let's not forget the fact that last year, both of these meetings, Kansas and Oklahoma State, 7 points or less, decided by 7 points or less. We had a 5-point game and a 7-point game. Kansas won both games, but they weren't blowouts, decided by 7 or less. I'll take my chances with Okie State plus the points.
Like it. I actually agree with that play. I think it's just too many points. Kansas has some struggles in the front court, very light there. Mitchell Solomon, Yuba, they should be able to do some decent things down low. I like Jeffrey Carroll. I like the Oklahoma State team. They're pretty resilient. They can hang in games. I like that play. Good call. I'm going to go to a game that I'm kind of looking at here, kind of way down on the card, kind of a random one, 695, 696, early at 1 o'clock. Going to have to make a decision pretty soon on it. I like Furman in this game. I think Citadel is a team that has overachieved the last couple games. They're off a huge win against Wofford. I think this is a bit of a letdown spot against Furman. Furman is the class of this conference, in my opinion. They look like the best team out there in the SoCo. They continue to play well all year, even after Nico Medved leaves this team to go to Drake. I still think Citadel is a sieve on defense. No one will disagree there. They're a team with, I think personally, in the capabilities on offense are not particularly there. They basically feast off turnovers and things like that. You look at over the last 5 games, they haven't really played well offensively. They're only shooting 39.5%. And on the season, they're only shooting 42%. Their goal is to play the loot and shoot, turn you over, get easy baskets, kind of make it difficult. This Furman team is a lot more fundamental. They've been good against the number. They've been good against the number on the road. They've shot the ball well all year, and defensively, they're good as well. I think they have an edge really in every category. I just think this is kind of a game where they kind of flex their muscles against a team who's overachieved over the last game or two. They're still a team that gives up, over 90 points a game. For me, I kind of lean Furman here in this game. I'm going to be looking towards this one possibly as a bet. Any thoughts? Yeah, I know you've been riding Citadel lately.
Yeah, I have, and I'm actually going to ride him one more time here in this game, Citadel. So I'm going against you, but that's okay. You got to do that every now and then. It's just one of those classic cases of, hey, teams just burning money left and right. All of a sudden, they catch point spread fire. And you look at what Citadel's done. They've been a massive point spread team as of late. It's just one of those. It's a morphing team, and I love backing teams like that at this time of year because their full season stats are lying. Their full season ATS and straight up records are lying a little bit. You look at Citadel now, 5-1 against the spread. Their last 6 games, they're even in defeat lately, competitive. We remember the home loss, especially at home. Citadel's been really, really tough. I mean, a 2-point loss to ETSU, one of the better teams in this conference, the win against Wofford. There's definitely a letdown concern here for me. No question about that. And as good as Furman is, Furman's a great team. Remember, the Paladins were a point spread machine last year down the stretch. They've played good basketball once again this season, but they've been hit or miss on the road in terms of covering numbers. I mean, they had a nice win against Mercer last time out. I was on Furman a little bit in that game, but they also lost by 10 at UNC Greensboro. They lost by 9 at Wofford, so they've had a little bit of a tough time as well on the road in terms of ATS results. So it's not one of my favorite bets, but I took Citadel here plus the 12.5. I'm going to just ride the streak at this point spread wise until they crumble. Could this be a letdown? For sure, but take my chances with Citadel here.
Ian riding the hot hand or Citadel. Someone asked, how's Oklahoma State playing well? They've lost 3 in a row. Well, keep in mind, for their stature, they're playing well. And they don't have to win this game, Brady. They just have to cover 12.5. They were right there with Arkansas, who I think is a tournament team. They didn't play well against TCU. They hung right with Texas Tech, and they lost, and they beat Oklahoma State. So, or Oklahoma, I'm not sure what else you want there. Three good teams that'll probably make the tournament. They hung right in 2 of those. So I like the play. I don't think it's a bad one. When he says they're playing well, they have been for the most part, according to what they do. They're not a great team.
No. We're not talking about straight up here. When I say they're playing better, we're talking about all ATS, and we're talking about on the road specifically, where Oklahoma State's really been good on the road as of late in terms of their point spread results. And again, we're not in a situation where I'm asking them to go into Fog Allen, which is not an easy place to play and win the game. Just stay inside the number, and they were 7 points or less worse than Kansas in both meetings last year. So I think Oklahoma State's got it in them to just stick inside of what I think is an inflated number here.
Yeah. Davidson, George Washington up pretty early. This Davidson team, just want to point out, I mean, defensively, they have really improved this year, man. I mean, a complete 180 in conference, only giving up 59.8 points a game. They're playing a GW team today that's really had issues on offense, only scoring about 64 points a game. They're a team that doesn't have a ton of talent on that end. And, defensively in conference, they've had a lot of trouble. Davidson looks like a decent play here. Only laying 6.5. They've had a great season. I really like the way they've fixed their defensive problems. And what I love about Davidson, Ian, is Bob McKillop's teams generally don't foul when they guard, and they've done that this year. Only 15 fouls a game. That's really important when you play defense, and that constitutes a great defense, a defense that can guard without fouling. Virginia does it as well, and that's why they've done such a great job on the defensive end. You also look, they only turn the ball over 10 times a game. That's extremely immaculate as well. So that's a game that I kind of have my eye on here as well. Early, Davidson, they've covered 4 of 5. They're 6-3 against the spread in conference. I think they should really kind of bother GW. GW doesn't really do much of anything well. So that's a game I got an interest in. Ian, any other 12 o'clock games you're looking at?
12 o'clock games. Let me see. 12 o'clock, not so much. I will give you one total that I like. It's a little later. And actually, you know what? It's 2 o'clock. I'll go to one of the 2 o'clock games. Providence and Marquette. I got to take points here with Providence. I know they got blown out their last game against Seton Hall. Not a pretty effort by any stretch of the imagination. But there is no respect being paid to the defensive end of the basketball court by the Marquette Golden Eagles right now. And it's been that way all season. In fact, it's probably even gotten worse their last couple of games. Butler just did whatever they wanted offensively the other night against Marquette. It's good because I had the over in that game, Butler-Marquette. And I actually lean over the total here as well, 153. I'd probably go Providence and the over. They did play an over earlier this season when the teams met. It's also a revenge spot for Providence. They lost in overtime to Marquette in Providence earlier this season, 95-90. It was a high-scoring affair. I just don't trust a bad Marquette team defensively to lay 5 points right now. I just don't. I mean, we saw them routed on their home court by Butler last time out, and Butler's been a mediocre road team this season. So that's an alarming result. I think that Villanova loss, where Marquette really hung tough with Villanova last weekend, that Sunday afternoon home game, and they were so close and just couldn't get over the hump, that's taken a lot of sting out of Wojo's team. I think Wojo's Marquette team really needed a signature win in the worst way for their tournament hopes. They're a bubble team at best right now. They didn't get it, and they were awful against Butler, still not playing any sort of defense. So I'm going to take Providence here, plus the 5, also over the total in that game. I'm going to go side and total, Providence-Marquette there.
Like it. Yeah, Marquette is a bad defensive team, man. I had an over with them the other night. They give up a lot of points there. All right, Ian, I'm going to give out a play here. I said I would or I wouldn't. I'm going to do it though. I've liked this play since I saw it last night. It just jumps out at me just because of the spot and the teams that are in it. I'm going to go 669, 670. I'm going to lay the number with Auburn here, minus 11.5 at home against Vanderbilt. I know, Ian, you've liked Vanderbilt and you've been dead on with them. They played pretty well without Fisher Davis. You look at, though, in the last game, I think they're really, what a gut-wrenching loss. A game they probably should have won against Kentucky. They managed somehow to lose. I don't know how they lost. And I think that's taken a lot out of them. You're going on the road here and taking on an Auburn team that has blood potential every time they play. This team has been absolutely fantastic this year to the number 14-5. They've covered all 3 games as a road favorite of 9.5 to 12 points. They're 8-1 against the number in conference. They've just been great. I mean, you look at everything they do, it's just been sparkling. They're scoring over 90 points a game at home, and this Vandy team has struggled mightily on the road. I haven't won a road game this year, only scoring 62.7 points a game and shooting the ball under 38%. Just a total recipe for disaster here. Off a loss, off a gut-wrenching loss. I think they get whitewashed in this game. I'm going to go Auburn minus 11.5 here at home. I think Vandy's solid play lately is really going to get tested here. I think they get crushed in this game.
Yeah, I've been a big proponent of Vandy, but I'm gonna in this game. I'm gonna say, all right, Vandy, thank you for the winning tickets I've had when I took them against a bunch of teams lately. Tennessee, I didn't take them against TCU, although I wish I had. Thank you for the Kentucky winner last night, the last game out in overtime. Thanks for that. Appreciate you guys helping the bankroll out a bit, but now's the time to get off the train. I worry about Vanderbilt today because of the fact all they talked about, all Bryce Drew talked about in the players, we're good enough to beat Kentucky. We feel we were right there with them when they played at Vandy earlier this season. They didn't make free throws down the stretch, and Kentucky pulled away late. Same damn thing here. They were right there. They should have won that game. They were up with under 3 minutes to go, could not close the deal. Big missed free throws late again hurt them in this game at Rupp Arena, and then they end up losing in overtime when that game was going back and forth. They laid it all out there on the floor in that game. I'm truly concerned this is a we don't even get off the bus type of game for Vanderbilt here today. And if they have that kind of performance where they're totally in letdown mode and shock after failing to close the deal against Kentucky, Auburn has shown you they are good enough to run you right out of the gym. Just ask LSU, one of their recent home games that they had. So this is not the spot. As much as I've been a pro Vandy guy lately, this is not the spot where I'm looking to continue that train.
Yeah, again, for me, a play today, I'm going to be on the Auburn Tigers here, minus 11.5. Almost 500 people watching live. We thank you. We hope you enjoy the show and hit the like button if you're out there. Martricia Gilbert asking about Cincinnati Butler. Those teams don't play today. As far as Butler,
they
I don't
play
have,
just not against each other. Yeah.
right. As far as Butler, I don't have any opinion on that DePaul game. DePaul is just kind of a middling Big East team. I don't love the Butler either. But yeah, as far as those teams, they don't play each other. Ian, let's keep it going here. We'll just kind of rapid fire here, see if there's anything else that wets our whistle. One other 12 o'clock game, Cincinnati on the road at UConn. Total looks pretty decent under the number. I think, Ian Cameron,
that is one of my plays. I was just going to say that is one of my plays, actually, under. I got 127.5. It's dropping, though. So if you like that under, get in quick.
Yeah, I think Cincinnati, Ian Cameron, has the ability to win the national title this year. I have 10 teams that I've picked that I think can win the title. They're one of them. I think if Mick Cronin doesn't hold this group back, I think they can win. I think they're ultra talented. I think defensively they're just as good as or close to as good as Virginia. A very good defensive group here. UConn should really struggle in this game. The thing with it is when you can get UConn to shoot jump shots, they are really hamstrung on offensively. But yeah, I mean, you got a total 127 this year. I think the bulk of the points in this game will be scored by Cincinnati. I think this is like a 70, 50 kind of game.
I think UConn might be lucky to top 50 in this game. Very, very lucky, because you look at this team, even against UCF, even against Temple in some of their recent games, just a brutal, dismal offensive basketball team in a lot of times. When you're relying on Christian Vital to be one of your top scorers, that's a problem, because this guy's not consistent enough game in, game out for this UConn Huskies team. They've got the investigation swirling around them. The Terry Larrier injury they suffered earlier this season certainly has been a big deal for UConn. So there's not enough offense. Now you're going up against a absolute suffocating, stifling team defensively in Cincinnati. You're right. I agree with you, big man. I know you're not the biggest Mick Cronin guy, but right now this team's playing well. They've got the chance to be a Final Four team with that defense. All they need is a lick of scoring. They need that guy that transferred actually from the Northeast Conference back, Broome. Once they get him back, yeah, that exactly. Because that's the guy that I think could be an X factor offensively, give them a little more scoring punch. And all they need is a little offense, and they are extremely dangerous if they get that come March.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with that. Let's keep it going here. Let's kind of go through some of these here out of that 12 o'clock realm. Where do we want to go here? Kentucky, Missouri. Look, if I'm playing this game, I kind of like Kentucky straight up. I think they can win the game. There's a lot of differing line moves here. You got 3 at Bookmaker. You got 1.5 at Bet Online. Very odd. 2.5 and 2 everywhere else. You can literally get a line from 1.5 to 3 in this game. Listen, I think Kentucky's really good. I think they're consistent right now. They've cohesed well. They found a way to win that game against Vandy, a game that they probably should have lost. Takes a lot of resolve to come back and win a game like that in a bad arena, against a bad team. I know it doesn't sound like something should be in, but they found a way to get the job done. And sometimes that's all you need. They've been springboarded a little bit after that West Virginia game. I see a game like this where they're getting some points. I'm kind of just looking to take them on the money line straight up. Missouri's solid. They have good home atmosphere. Should be a fun game, kind of like in Kentucky there. Minnesota, Michigan. Ian, Michigan. They've had some of these games recently where they look dreadful in the first half, and then they come out and just crush you in the second half. Is this too many points against a Minnesota team that might be one of the more disappointing teams in the country this year?
Yeah, Minnesota has been an odd team. They've been schizophrenic, to say the least, Minnesota Golden Gophers. I mean, it's been a up and down season for Richard Pitino's team. Michigan's ultra consistent. They found a way to pull out a point spread cover as well the other night against Northwestern. Impressive fashion, considering they didn't start that game very well. But, it's always a little bit tricky when you're getting up into this kind of price range here, 12.5, 13 with Michigan laying at home. But
I mean, Ian, is Minnesota this bad? I mean, they're not. Are they this bad? I mean, 12.5. Michigan is not they're good, but I don't know that they're worthy of laying 12.5. They don't make their free throws at the end of games. I mean, I kind of like Minnesota. At some point, you got to think the Golden Gophers are going to give you some kind of effort. They're not this bad, are they?
Well, they've had a lot of issues. They've had obviously the Lynch situation. They've had Coffey injured earlier in the season. I mean, they've had just a ton of issues, Minnesota, personnel wise. They've not been, that's affected them quite a bit. It's one of those teams that was just early in the season. Remember in November, this team was just terrific. I mean, they were just crushing it. And then they hit a little swoon, and then the bottom really fell out in January. They had a real bad tailspin then. Yeah.
You know when they stopped being Minnesota in that 5-on-3.
Yeah.
I think that took a lot out of them mentally. I think
yeah.
Mentally, when you're a team that on TV gets embarrassed like that, they were like
against Bama, right? That was Bama they played that day. Yeah,
that takes a lot out of a team, especially when you're dealing with 19, 20-year-old kids. When you get your kind of embarrassed, in public, your rep kind of gets taken away a little bit. That's embarrassing. I mean, they haven't really been the same since. I've noticed that. That was, I think, a turning point for them this year.
Yeah, and outside of one road overtime win against Penn State, they've been a disaster on the road. They lose by 23 at Northwestern, 11 at Maryland. They lose by 14 in their last game at Iowa, play no defense whatsoever in that game. As much as it's a lot of points to lay with Michigan, and I don't necessarily trust them laying this big of a number, I'm not sure I trust Minnesota one damn bit either. So it's a clear pass here for me, big man.
Yeah, seems a couple too many points here, if you ask me. A lot of people asking about Virginia, asking if it's a trap line. I don't think. I mean, they're on the road at Syracuse. It's a tough place to go play. I think Syracuse has a lot of trouble offensively in this game. These are two great defenses, one of which in Syracuse, who, I mean, they've had a great defense all year. Jim Boeheim always has, some real success. But, look, I don't think it's just a guarantee they're going to shut Virginia down. Virginia's really found ways to shoot the basketball lately. They've looked good from the outside. Jerome, Kyle Guy, they've really had a lot of success shooting the basketball. You look at their numbers, they're up to, 39.3% from three. That's pretty good. They make their foul shots. Both these teams, good free throw shooting game teams. And when you have a total at this level, you're 112, 113. This is the lowest of the low. Okay. 65-60, 60-55, you lose. That's what this total is. You're basically hoping that this game is, 52-48 or something. That's what you're hoping here. Here's the concern you have. Okay. The only big concern I have on the total, you might just walk out today and Teddy Valentine's the referee. Okay. And if it is, you're over or under. Most likely you're under. It's fucked. Because TV Teddy likes to give his fouls. If you get a ref here that is foul happy, this game will go over. That's your concern here. Do I think this is a 60-55 game or something? No. I think Virginia has, as I've looked more and more at this game, I like the way they've shot the basketball lately. I don't know that Syracuse will score, but I think Virginia will. I would take Virginia in this game, -5.5. I would take the nice number here, and I would, take it to the bank.
I'm not going against Virginia. I mean, I remember saying that to you last week as well when they played Duke, and I said I'm not going against Virginia in that game, and I'm not going against them here against Syracuse. Syracuse is a decent defensive team, but boy, they can't put the ball in the ocean half the time offensively. This is not a good. It's a better defensive team. It's a very, very lackluster and porous at times offensive team. That doesn't bode well for trying to score against this Virginia team. So, right now Virginia, and they're finding ways for the most part to keep covering numbers. And now 5.5 on the road, in this game, it's just a question of value, obviously, for each individual. But for me, I'm not stepping in front of Virginia till they give me a reason to.
Yeah, Raymond Kenny, what's the lock of the day? We don't have locks of the days here. We just give out our favorite plays. Whether you I'll be honest, Raymond, I wouldn't know that I would go into a day asking for the lock. I would just try to do your work and try to find the best game. I like Auburn right now. For me, that would be a game I'm pretty interested in. Everyone likes Cincinnati over Butler, Raymond. That's a game also that we might want to get involved with.
We got Big East versus America Athletic Conference in early February. Nobody gave me that memo.
I think she got confused on what game she was looking at. So yeah, I'm kind of liking UVA here. I mean, why go against what's been working? Drexel, William, and Mary. This line just keeps going up.
One of my plays
okay.
here. Yep.
What are you on the over?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
I like the over but I'm worried Drexel won't score enough. They always seem to like not put up enough points. Like you'll need them to score 80 and they'll score like 75.
Well, if they can't put up enough points here, I worry about when will they be able to put up enough points, because you look at William and Mary. Here's an under the radar totals trend if you're into trends and stuff like that. And these are meaningful trends. William and Mary's had 7 home games this season with aligned total on the game, 7-0 to the over. 7-0 to the over. Every game has gone over the total where there's been a line total on a William and Mary home game this season. I had it couldn't have been easier. Elon and William and Mary over the total on Thursday night.
Yeah.
Both teams got into the 90s. It wasn't even a sweat at all. That game was flying over the total by halftime. It was clearly well over pace to go over the total. I think we get to 160. That's all we need here. Well, now we need a little more than that's gone up. I mean, I got 158.5 on the total in this game. It's gone up a little bit, but I think we get there still. William and Mary has given up 87 points per game at home and scoring about 88 points per game at home this season. So they've actually been a worse defensive team, William and Mary, at home than on the road, which is kind of bizarre. But they're not playing any sort of defense. Drexel should be able to score. William and Mary is as potent and loaded offensively as it gets. We know with Tony Shaver running that team as the head coach, they're going to play up and down. Tons of pace, tons of frenetic tempo in their games. I think we see another William and Mary over, make it their 8th straight over on their home court this season in line totals.
Yeah, I mean, listen, William and Mary is just extremely efficient on offense. That's just what, and I'm talking about top like 20 in the country. Drexel, you would think, I mean, they're going to have to run with William and Mary. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like a bad play. It's just the only concern I have, will this be like a 90-77 game and Drexel just not get to that 80? You need to get to 80 here. I mean, both teams. I need Drexel to do it. Regardless if William and Mary gets to 90, I want 80 for both teams. If it's 90-80, okay. William and Mary should score 90, though. That shouldn't be a problem here. I like what you're saying here. Is Kentucky a trap game? I don't think it is. No. I would take them on the money line, sure. Where else we want to go here? Let's see where the people want us to go. Georgia is talking about Arsenal game at 12:30. Yeah, I like the over in that game, over 3. I think over looks real good there. New strikers for both teams. Aubameyang's in there. Mkhitaryan's in there. Theo Walcott for Everton. Both defenses have major trouble. First match was 5-2. I would lean over in that one. Arsenal-Everton. Let's go through a game here that people are asking about. Ian Cameron. I don't see it. All I see is people just talking about games we've already discussed. Let's go to this one. This is an interesting one. Drake headed on the road to Bradley. Two teams out of the Missouri Valley that have had great seasons, man. Really have. And Ian, I like this Drake group. I've had some real success with them this year. 661, 662. If you're looking and playing along at home, I don't see any reason not to go back to the well today, Ian. Bradley, Brian Wardell's team is very good defensively at home, and they are also a perfect 9-0 against the spread at home, Ian. 9-0. Question is this too many points for a team in Drake that I like? Here's the concern with Drake today. They've, for the most of the season, had no real trouble putting the ball in the basket. They have in conference, and I think what that has a lot to do with this, they're facing a lot better defenses. They're facing Evansville. They're facing Bradley. They're facing Northern Iowa. They're facing, the really good defense in this conference. And, teams that, frankly, slow it down a lot. That's kind of, when you get in conference, there's a little bit of an adjustment period. And, Drake has played pretty well, but they're starting to lose games now. They're 4-10 on the road this year. They've been good in conference, though, the number, finding a way to get it done. But now you're facing a team today in Bradley that really is good defensively. I don't really know that I want to step in front of the Bradley train, but I got to tell you, this Drake train's been pretty good as well, Ian.
Especially on the road, catching a boatload of points. They've been pretty solid in that role most of the season. The problem for me with Bradley is they've just been so good at home. I mean, you look at them in this conference and how good they've been at home. They win and cover against Valpo at home. The one game the point spread was in doubt was Southern Illinois, and they won that game by 6 points, basically fell right on the number. They win and cover against Evansville at home, win and cover big time against Missouri State at home. Huge, great win for them at home in their last game against a red-hot Loyola Chicago team. That was an impressive. The Ramblers have been rolling, and Bradley takes them down at home. Very tough team to go against at home, but you see some of the results Drake's been able to have in the road dog role. At Indiana State, they won outright as a road dog. Southern Illinois, they won outright as a road dog. Against Evansville in their last game, they covered the number on the road. So they've been capable in this role. To me, it's a Bradley team I don't want to bet against at home. Drake, I like them catching points. So I've got contradictory factors in this game. So I'm going to stay on the sideline for it.
Yeah, I hear you on the contradictory factors. And, Drake has been good, but this Bradley team's been real good against the number at home. People are clamoring to talk about UL Lafayette. UL Lafayette went 9-0 in conference. They're just pounding teams into submission this year, 11-4 against the spread. They've been very good on the road as well. They're just a cover machine. And I think the big question is UL Monroe going to step in front of them? I got to tell you, UL Monroe has been pretty good this year at home, 9-2 straight up. Covered, the games they've been lined in for the most part. They've also covered 4 or 5 against this Raging Cajuns team. I got to be honest. I have a weird feeling that UL Monroe is going to cover. They're real good defensively. They don't turn the ball over too much. They make their foul shots. They're good from 3. I'm going to go out on a limb here. Make a guess. I think UL Monroe gets inside the number finally. I think UL Lafayette doesn't cover this. I'm gonna go out and say it. I think UL Monroe is a decent group. They played well at home on both sides of the ball. They're kind of one of those teams that has a point spread. When you're laying 10, 11, 12 points, they can hang in the game because they do things, small things that will keep them into the game. I kind of like UL Monroe here, plus the points.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, the point spread will catch up with this UL Lafayette team, and this could be the spot. I mean, it's one of those situations where if you're betting Lafayette today and you haven't been riding this ATS run that they've gone on, you're too late. I mean, you need to step back and say, hey, maybe we're going to be joining this party just a little bit too late after all the guests have left. That could end up being the problem here, or if you're going to get involved with Lafayette in this game. And that's the problem. When I see teams on this point spread streak, I'm reluctant to go against them, which I am here with Lafayette, but I've also not been cashing in with them during this run. I'm not going to jump in now when I am not at all sure anymore. The value is still there to back the Raging Cajuns. So for me, it's a game I leave alone.
Yeah, I actually kind of like UL Monroe. I might have a small play on that today. We're going to go deep, Ian, because we go deep on this show into the games we like to go, we like to cover, we want to talk about, the listeners want us to talk about. It's hard for me at 3 o'clock in game 7:05, 7:06. I got to tell you, South Dakota is screaming my name today in this game against North Dakota State. Listen, the Bison are a good group. I like this team. They play well, but it's hard to not take South Dakota in basically a pick-em situation. I think they're the class of this conference. The only thing holding me back is that North Dakota State team is good on offense at home. Could see some points in this game. I might have to take a look at the total. Ian, is this a trap here? South Dakota, a team that's been real good to the number this year. They've covered, I think 10 of 13 on the road, really sparkling against the spread numbers. I've been on them a lot. I think they're a good group of guys. North Dakota State, 19-7, or 7-19 is an underdog over their last 26 matchups. How do I not take a shot at South Dakota, even on the road? It's a big game in this conference, but South Dakota's won some big games already, beating South Dakota State last week in South Dakota, I believe.
There's a lot of similarities, actually, I find, Summit League and Colonial. I mean, you get a lot of overs in these two conferences. I mean, that's been very, very much a similarity between those two factors. I actually think the over is a good way to look here in this game. In fact, I'll probably have a play on it myself, the over. It's already bumped up a little bit, 142.5. It's 145.5 now, pretty much across the board. But I like the South Dakota team. Those Coyotes, they know how to play. I mean, that's a very, very good basketball team this season. North Dakota State, you give them a little bit of respect on their home court. They do have a good home record without a doubt. But, South Dakota State's capable of going in there and winning. Look at last year when these teams played on this court, a 76-66 win for South Dakota as a 6.5-point underdog. The problem is they're catching points there. They're now laying a slight amount of points here in this game. So maybe the value's not there. But, yeah, I'm not going against South Dakota. I think they're really, really good basketball team. North Dakota State, can be formidable at home, but not always consistent. But I think the better play is over the total. That's the way I'd probably look in this one.
I think a team that I've kind of keyed in on lately, and I'm going to continue to key on this group. It's really one thing, Ian Cameron, and I'm going to explain what it is. The Portland State Vikings against Eastern Washington, laying another big number. I don't know that I get the love affair with Portland State. I think they're erratic. I think they're bad on defense. They remind me a lot of William and Mary. Do I think they're impressive? Yes, but I think in conference they're an absolute sieve. And I've gotten some information recently that in the last game against Idaho, I had Idaho because their point guard, Devontae North, there's concerns that he may be suspended. He was suspended in the last game, didn't play. If he's not in there tonight, I'm going to take Eastern Washington. I don't know why Portland State continues to be 4, 5, 6-point favorites at home. This team presses, which we all know. Eastern Washington, it's really just can they handle the press? That's something I'm going to look into. The game doesn't go off until a little bit later, so we have some time here. But I need to see if North's playing. If North's not playing, I'm going to be looking at Eastern Washington in this game. Portland State, I don't think is a team that is capable to lay this kind of number. They're just not that good on defense. I don't like Portland State. I don't see the love affair.
Well, there was a love affair in non-conference play, and that's why you have to separate non-conference from conference season. This is two different seasons as far as I'm concerned, and Portland State is living proof of that. This was a point spread darling. Nobody could get enough of Portland State in betting this team in the non-conference season. And I'll give the Vikings credit. They had a ton of impressive results in the non-conference season against some solid, big power conference teams in a lot of games. But now conference season has hit. They were overvalued after that great run they had in the non-conference season against the spread, and now we're seeing them really cough up a lung here a little bit from a point spread perspective. Of course, losing the other night against Idaho in their last game. So yeah, Portland State, all of that early point spread gold has really evaporated for them as conference season has progressed. And again, they don't play really consistent enough defensively. They're a good offensive team, but when you're asking to be lay points, which they were going into conference season, that can be an issue. And we've seen Portland State dramatically overvalued in recent weeks.
Yeah, and I mean they hit gold once or twice, but I've made the comment Portland State is a lot like a dude that works all night to get a girl back into his bed. And you put on all this work. She's so hot. You want to perform, you want to have fun, and then a minute in, it's like you hit your climax too early. Unfortunately, you might have hit that climax on the dance floor when you were going at it. Well, that's Portland State. They hit their climax way too early, unfortunately. Let's keep it going here. People like these small schools. This is where the money is, in my opinion. We'll keep it going down on this level. Someone's asked about Weber State. Would I lay the number with them? Yeah, I think the Northern Arizona is really a one-man team. JoJo Anderson's one guy at Northern Arizona that really is a good player. He can keep you in a game. He can drop 30 on you. But this Weber team's been really good. They've covered 7 of 9 in conference. They're really kind of steamrolling teams as they play them. I think Weber and Montana are the two teams that battle it out in this conference. Weber always well coached under Randy Rahe. Northern Arizona, they don't shoot the ball well. They're not good on defense. The number's getting a little high. I tend to like these numbers more like 4 or 5, but I wouldn't have a ton of trouble laying this kind of number. Weber's been pretty good overall as a favorite, in that conference opponent role. Yeah, I would lean Weber.
They're sort of like Buffalo in the MAC. I mean, they've been able to cover numbers, bigger numbers, even on the road at times. So they're very similar to Buffalo out of the MAC in a lot of respects, that Weber team.
Yeah, and good point here by Isan. He's talking about back to the Eastern Washington game, Bogan Bliznik. Yeah, Bogan's been there for many years. He's a guy that has seen that press before. He's seen that all work. Yeah, I agree. Interesting question by Nick Dial, Ian Cameron. He's saying if he won the lottery, what would he have to pay me to handicap for him? I'll be honest, if you won $20 million after taxes, I would take $100K to do it for you. I mean, I'm doing a lot of work here. I mean, plus you're rich, so I could kind of
You got to sweeten the pot, and sweeten the deal for them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say 100K. I mean, I'd be good with that. I think we could, back alley it. You give me the money, I'll go to work. But I'm not a tout. Remember that. I'm only doing this is for my service. I'm like a hooker. This is for my service, bro.
Right.
Yeah, I don't have anything on the
Chris Lomas, Football Observer, asking UAB Old Dominion. That's an interesting one. Old Dominion's off a tough loss at against Middle Tennessee State at home in their last game. Great basketball game, but they lost 66-59. They have lost to the better teams in this conference, Western Kentucky and Middle Tennessee State, on their home court recently, Old Dominion. But that's still their only 2 home losses of the season. Now playing UAB. UAB's a solid team, but I don't think they're on that MTSU Western Kentucky level. I think Old Dominion, I trust them off a loss. I think if I had to bet that game, I'd look to lay the moderate number here. What is it? -5 here with ODU at home off a bounce back.
Yeah, ODU, really had played well against Middle Tennessee, just not well enough. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't love coverage USA, but yeah, I think Middle Tennessee's kind of the great team there. But yeah, I don't disagree. And yeah, by the way, Nick, I forgot to throw in, I'd also ask for 15% of our yearly win rate. So if we're up at the end of the year, I'm going to take 15% of all profits. It's only right. That's just how, when you're dealing with big time gamblers, that's what you do. You got to take a percentage of the wins as well. The 100K is just to get me in the door. Be like a hedge fund to take it. Exactly. I'm being Bobby Axelrod here, and I'm taking your profits, cuz. Dude, listen, I'm doing all the work, Nick. You're just sitting there making money.
Yeah. Who's got to do the shows? Who's got to know the players? Who's got to know the teams? Yeah.
Yeah. I got nothing on the West Virginia flu thing. I don't know what that's all about. These are kids. I mean, if it's happening, we're not going to know a ton about it because they won't make it public. Yes,
that's a tough game.
Insurance also. Yes, good.
That's a tough game for me. I mean, West Virginia is not a team I'm rushing to lay points with right now. I mean, they've legitimately hit a little bit of a speed bump, more than a little bit. They've not played good basketball now for the last couple of weeks, and Huggy Bear's got to find a way to get this team turned around. I'm worried this could be the spot and the opponent they do it against, because I don't know if I trust Kansas State. I mean, that was supposed to be a very good spot for them against Kansas on Monday night at home. They lost to Kansas by just 1 point at the Fog earlier this season. They threw up a clunker. They were just not in that game pretty much throughout. Kansas had a comfortable lead the entire way. So I'm not sure I'm ready to trust Bruce Weber of all people here on the road in this game, but I don't want to lay it with West Virginia, so I'm going to just watch that game.
Another small game people always ask about is whenever Southern Illinois Edwardsville plays a team that's pretty bad, as we all know. Jacksonville State definitely should be able to take care of business here. SIUE's really had issues defensively all season. They don't shoot the ball well at all. I kind of like Jack State. Jack State really can get after you on the defensive end. It is a road game, but they've handled their business on the road this year, Gamecock-wise, covering 6 of 9. So I kind of like Jacksonville State here, minus the points. Wofford Mercer, huge game down in the Southern Conference. Question is, game by game, is Cameron Jackson in there? He's had a head issue, a concussion. If he's back, kind of like Wofford today. If he's not, I think Mercer bounces back. They're also without one of their best players, Rion Holland. So a game with two teams kind of having some injury concerns. Ian, any concern with any interest in Wofford Mercer?
I don't like this Mercer team at all. They've been a disaster, really, considering the expectation level for this team with the senior-laden lineup rotation coming back for this team for Bob Hoffman and company, and it's just not worked out at all for the Mercer Bears this season. So I'm not in any rush to take them in that game against Wofford. But it's like, where's Waldo? Where's Cam Jackson? I mean, that really is the big part of it here for the Wofford equation here, if he's going to play or not. But still, regardless of whether he's in or not, I'm not looking to go against Wofford with this Mercer team, which another massive disappointment the other night, losing big at home against Furman. So not exactly rushing to support Mercer in that game. Mississippi State, Georgia, someone asking. It's Georgia in the road underdog role. So right away, that tells me I'm not going against Georgia. They have been really too good in that road underdog role. It's been that way this year, last year, 2 years ago under Mark Fox. They've just been a consistent team and a very good ATS team as a road dog. So that's Georgia or pass for me in that game. Mississippi State does have a formidable home court. I understand that. They're playing a little bit better lately, but that's still Georgia in that price range, and that kind of point spread role is not a team I'm looking to fade them in that role.
How many bookies do I have? As far as like locals, I have a couple. As far as ones online, I have 2 or 3. Yes, 100K a season. Yes, I mean he's a $20 million man, which isn't that much really. But is Idaho going to take care of Sac State? They should. I mean, Sac State is pretty bad, though. I do like Sac State a lot more with Marcus Graves. I mean, he's not a bad player. He's a kid that can keep you in the game as well. They have played a lot better in conference, a little bit more up for them. I could see that. But not a game I'm really looking into. I made some money with Idaho recently, and that might be where I'll keep it. Idaho has had some issues lately on the defensive side. Ian, we got about, 8 minutes or so. We'll kind of just go as quick as we can here. Any other games you have your eye on here?
Yeah, I mean, quickly, I'm just going to throw some out here. Look out for San Diego Toreros. They're suddenly starting to cover some numbers. I'm interested in them a little bit, plus the points against St. Mary's. They are at home, San Diego, in that Jenny Craig gym. So, and again, it's one of those teams that's starting to morph into a better point spread team. So it could be a few too many points to lay with St. Mary's there in that game. USC UCLA is an interesting game. Should be because USC to me has really played some better basketball as of late. But again, UCLA just laying a point and a half there at home in that game. Not going to get involved, but does interest me. Arizona, Washington. Here comes Washington coming on like a freight train. Very good win for them the other night against Arizona State. Rapid fire here on that game in terms of this game. Not really in love with going against Arizona right now, but I think Washington has the chance to give them a little bit of a game there. So slightly into Washington, won't get involved. The one big play I do have later on is another total with St. Bonnie and Duquesne over 140. I like that one quite a bit. These two teams combined 12-3 to the over their last 15 games combined. St. Bonnie's on a 7-2 over streak. Duquesne is on a, I believe, 5-1 over streak in their last 6 games. I think it should be able to get over that number of 140 in that game. Bonaventure and Duquesne. Portland, why not ride Portland? Yeah,
I like that play, or I like that over you just mentioned. That's a good one. Both those teams can fill it up. Great guard play for both teams. I like that play. Good call.
Yeah, thanks. Hopefully it's a good call after it's over and it wins. So that's what we're hoping for with that. But Portland as well against Loyola Marymount. I've talked about Portland till everybody's blue in the face. I understand that. I said bet Portland against St. Mary's last Saturday. They stayed inside that number. Took them against Pepperdine. Had to sweat that one out, but they won and covered in overtime. Just a team that's on a point spread run. They put Marcus Shaver, Terry Porter does, the head coach, into the starting 5, and they've been a different team since then. They've been a better team. I know Loyola Marymount's just off this crazy win, unexpected at home against BYU, but they got to show me they can go on the road and do that because Loyola Marymount has been trounced repeatedly on the road. So at a near pick'em price, I got no problem staying on the Portland Pilots train tonight.
Yeah, one other one I'm looking at. I like Ole Miss a little bit today against Tennessee. I think there's too many points. I don't see 10 points difference between these two teams. Tennessee feel themselves a little bit. They still don't have a star player, I don't think. I think Ole Miss has really kind of played particularly well since they were called out in one of their non-conference games against by their coach. I like Ole Miss. I think they have the ability to hang around in this game. 10 points might be a little too many. Jeff, I like you, but Jody McDonald is a legend. Jody McDonald's a hack. He's a relic. He's an old fart that needs to get out of everyone's way. These old guys, I think they're just God's gift to earth because they're old and we got to show them respect. Fuck that. I'm not going to show him respect. He was an asshole to me, and I'm not going to take it. Don't be a radio host. Ask for people to call you, and then when you discuss what they don't want you to want to hear, they hang up on you. They run and hide because they're not smart enough. He doesn't know anything. He needs to get out of the way. Shut up, Jody McDonald. I got nothing to say about him. And Hal Abrams, if you like him, great, good for you. I don't. I'm the new boy. We're the new boys, me and Ian Cameron. There's old farts. Get out of the way, will you? Beat it. Go to AARP. Beat it.
You know what it reminds me? You know what the handicapping profession reminds me? It reminds me of the NFL head coaching circuit right now. It's becoming a younger man's game. It really, really is. I
Right.
mean, you got younger NFL head coaches now. You're starting to get some younger handicappers now in this business. That's the trend. That's where it's going. So you either jump on or get the hell off, right?
He thinks he's some gambling guru. Like you call into his show, he's talking about point spreads and stuff. And I said I thought the whole Gronkowski and all the flu stuff. I think it was a ploy. I do. I think it's a ploy to get Patriot money. And he hangs up on me and says I'm nuts. Like what are you talking about? He thinks he knows you. He's an idiot. He's a moron. That's why they
That's
put him
the
on late at night because no one cares about him. He's a hack. Get out of the way. No one cares. That's why people don't listen to terrestrial radio anymore because you got all these relic guys that talk about shit that happened in 1970 like anyone cares. Let's talk about right now. What can you do for me right now? And he doesn't know shit. So beat it, will you?
exactly. Wait, well said, well said. Quickly, two Big Ten games that I mentioned in the chat, or someone mentioned in the chat. Iowa, Penn State. I got absolutely nothing on that game. I don't want any part of either of those teams right there. So it's a clear pass. Sorry, I can't help you there. Michigan State, Indiana. I'm going to probably take Indiana in some form in this game. Michigan State's just doing enough right now to get by. They did just enough to beat Maryland on the road last weekend. They sleptwalked and early in the first half against Penn State in their last game at home at the Breslin Center. They got obviously the stuff that's going on with the team and the program in terms of the sexual assault allegations going on and hanging over their head like a 10-foot pole, like an elephant in the room. Michigan State laying 8.5 at Assembly is not something I'm looking to do. Indiana, against Purdue, I know they let it slip late, but that was a game effort against a very good Purdue team last weekend on this home floor. I'm going to lean Indiana plus the points there at home in that game.
Yeah, I've been on this fading Michigan State, and it's worked a little bit. I had it last week with that Penn State game. Assembly Hall, I mean, they could fill that place. They love their basketball there. I like Juwan Morgan a lot. I think he's a great player. Just do they have enough horses to run? They didn't against Purdue. They got inside the number, though. I don't hate that play at all. Guys, again, we're sorry. We only have an hour here. Does Montana stay hot? I don't know. I didn't even look at that game. Let me see here. They should. I mean, North Dakota can't defend you and me, so I would think North Dakota, though, or Montana, though, very 2-point shot reliant. They're not a big 3-point shooting team. They're not gonna, they're not gonna wow you on that end. But yeah, they can get to the hoop. North Dakota can't stop anything in transition, anything pick and roll wise. Yeah, I think Montana should be able to get the job done there. Other than that, we'll do as much as we can, and that's it. We're at the end of the show here. I'll play stuff throughout the day on Twitter. One game I will give out here today that I'm already on. I like Auburn minus 11.5. I already bet it. Already put it out on Twitter. Couple other ones I'm looking at. I actually like that total Ian talked about with Duquesne and St. Bonaventure. I'm looking at this Eastern Washington game. We'll see if we can get some info on North. I'm looking at South Dakota. I'm looking at Jacksonville State. But a lot of games, Ian. Looking at maybe one we didn't talk about much, USC, kind of like that. Oklahoma, Texas. Quickly, Ian, Oklahoma, Texas. Do you think Texas has been real good at home? It's hard to give Oklahoma points with Trae Young.
The problem here for Oklahoma, and I'm leaning Texas, but the number's sort of moved up now. -3 is not something I love, but I think Texas wins this game. Oklahoma's going to have to show me they can grind in the half court and execute something they've not faced a ton of. We'll see what Trae Young's made of facing against this slow down Texas team that's going to play defense here. Tough game for Oklahoma. I think Texas actually can get it done.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Texas, I like at home, but I like Oklahoma getting points for Trae Young. It's just hard to disagree there. Other than that, guys, hopefully you have a great day and enjoy the Saturday. Good luck to everyone. Enjoy the Super Bowl tomorrow. Ian, what are you on in that game?
Oh, the Super Bowl. I'm on the over in that game, and I'm on Philadelphia plus the points. I'm going to go Philly plus the points over the total as my side and total opinions, which are smaller size bets for me. More of my stuff's on the props. We got a bunch of props. So I talked about them earlier in the week on Gabe's show. I talked about them on the roundtable. So if you want to know prop opinions, check those out. And I'll post some on Twitter as well. I'll have lots of Twitter plays this weekend. At Bobano. Follow Jeff as well, at Jeff Nadu. If you're not following us on Twitter, you're not trying to win. That's all there is to it. So get following us on Twitter. We both post there a ton. We're like Twitter fiends, both of us. So make sure you're following us there on a daily basis.
Amen. That's how it goes, man. Everyone have a great weekend. Enjoy the week. Go Eagles. We'll be back next week when we do this, another week, as we inch closer to March Madness. Ian Cameron, as always, great stuff. And we'll see you next week here on The Closing Line. Everyone have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.